Welcome to episode 12 of the Road to Roatan. This is my video series of my documenting my journey to compete for the first time in the Freediving World Championships as sort of regular dude. I'm not really super talented at freediving or anything, but with the competition just a few days away, I think I do my first dive in 6 days. I thought I'd make this video specific for those people who aren't really in freediving or relatively new to freediving, to explain how to watch a competition or what's really going on in competition. So right before the competition, we have to do our registration, show our documents, etc. And the most important thing is to have our lanyards checked. This is a lanyard. This is the most important safety device in freediving. So we'll have this side on the wrist and this one will be on the rope. This way, if anything happens, we know where the diver is at all times. And they have to meet some standards in terms of strength, and they got to check it, and then they'll put a little tape on it to show that it's been checked. For me, reading through the news, a lot of the accidents that happen in scuba diving is the scuba diver disappears or gets out of sight of the dive instructor or the dive master, and that's where a lot of accidents happen. It doesn't happen in freediving because we wear the lanyards. Again, super important safety device and what keeps freediving safe. So there are two governing bodies for freediving. The first one is AIDA, A-I-D-A, and the second one is CMAS, C-M-A-S. This World Championships is CMAS. In September in Cyprus, there'll be one for AIDA. So think about it like boxing or the UFC. There's different promotions and they have different world champions. And but when you see absolute world record, that means that is the depth which is the deepest for both organizations. Now, CMAS was the original governing body for freediving. If you look at Le Grand Bleu or the Big Blue, you can see the signs on the competition site were saying CMAS, but they got out of it for about 2 decades because freediving at that time was getting too dangerous by the way they were doing it. And then AIDA restarted it before the 2000s, but sort of the last 10 years or so, CMAS has gotten into it. Now, CMAS is very important because they're connected to the Olympic Committee. And if freediving ever gets into the Olympics, it would be because of CMAS, it seems like. And CMAS also has age divisions. Senior division is all ages, and now they have master's category, M1 being 50 to 59, M2 60 to 69, and M3 70 to 79. I'm in M1 obviously because I'm 53 years old. So there are 4 disciplines that we'll compete in 4 separate days. Day 1 will be constant weight, which is using the monofin to fin up and down. You're also allowed to use bifins in this category. Not sure why, but maybe because the monofin is so expensive. Not everyone has it and can travel with it. That's day 1. Day 2 is free immersion. That is using the rope to pull up and down. Day 3, or the third dive, would be constant weight bifins, which is CWT-BF. This is using the regular long fins to fin up and down, or down and up actually. And CNF, this is probably the most difficult physically event. This is constant no fins, which is you're using no equipment to propel yourself down and up using a modified breaststroke. So you're essentially swimming down like breaststroke down and up. And it's very physically demanding. Also not my favorite because it's, yeah. So a day before the dive, let's say my first dive is this. On the 16th, by the afternoon, 2 or 3 p.m. or so, I have to put in my AP, or my announced performance. This is announcing which depth I am targeting. So most of my dives will be 50 something, and so let's say 52, because they organize the schedule for the next day from the deepest to the shallowest. So they need to know what depth you're going for. And then later in the day, in the evening, you'll get your official top or the official time of performance. This will be exactly what time you will start the dive. So since I'm relatively shallow compared to everyone else, there's a bunch of world record holders and national record holders here, I will be much later in the day. So once you make that announcement and the line is set there, you cannot go deeper. So if I announce 50 meters, I can't go deeper than 50 meters because there's a stopper down there and the lanyard won't allow me to go any deeper. So So now the actual dive, you need to start your dive within 30 seconds after the official top time or official time of performance. If you do it beyond that or before that, you will get penalized points. Points are basically your depth you reach. So if you announce 50 and you hit 50, then you get 50 points. But you may get some deductions based on some penalties. We'll talk about that later. So once they descend and if they hit the bottom, their target depth, then you have to grab the tag. About a meter below the stopper is a bunch of tags on Velcro that you have to grab and then bring back up and show the judge. After grabbing that tag, you then ascend. The last 10 meters is the most dangerous part because that is where divers generally black out. If you're in a competition, they can happen at 20, even 30 meters, which is why they have a bunch of safeties. If you're diving deep, the safest place to do it is at a competition because you have a professional safety crew to look after you. Now, once you surface, it's not over yet because within 15 seconds, you have to perform a surface protocol. It's different between AIDA and CMAS. CMAS is much easier. And all you need to do is within 15 seconds, show the OK sign. The other organization, you have to take off your facial equipment like your nose clip, your goggles or mask, and then give the OK sign and say, I'm OK, in that order within 15 seconds. Now, you also have to keep your airways out of the water. If you surface and then your mouth touches the water, that is a red card, meaning none of the dive doesn't count, you get no points. Or you dip your back of your head into the water, that's also a red card. Not me, but a lot of divers, super advanced divers, they're really on the edge of being hypoxic, or they're quite hypoxic when they surface. And so you may see an LMC, which means loss of motor control. It's also, the slang for that is samba because it looks like you're dancing samba. And yeah, it's like what it sounds like. You lose motor control. And so hanging onto the rope or even saying anything or putting your fingers together to give the OK sign could prove difficult. Now, this can lead to blackout, especially if the diver doesn't do strong recovery breaths. So once you do a surface protocol, then the judge will either give you a red card, a white card, or a yellow card. A red card means dive doesn't count. It usually is because they black out or their airways touch the water. White card means perfect dive, everything's okay, they got the tag, they did the surface protocol, and so all the points count. And yellow card means a penalty. Now some of the penalties could be you didn't grab the tag or you early churned before your target depth. Now early churn usually is because of equalization issues, not because they feel like they're running out of air. At this level, they're not worried about that, frankly. But yeah, equalization is the biggest challenge in freediving because it requires a high level of relaxation under a high pressured environment, quite literally a high pressured environment. Now, where to watch? Now in freediving, there is something called dive eye, which is an underwater drone. And a lot of big competitions like the World Championships have this. And this allows the organizers to live stream this to the world. And you can watch my dives as well, which makes me a little nervous. And it's sort of this big yellow drone that they descends with you and ascends with you. And so you, behind your computer or your phone, will be able to watch the entire thing. Now, usually they post it on YouTube. and you just need a link to watch. But I believe CMAS, you need to go on their site, cmas.tv. I'll put the link below. You need to register for an account, and then you'll be able to watch. On my Instagram, I'll post the time, or my official top time, in my Instagram stories and Facebook. So make sure to follow those. Now let me talk about money for a second, because I think one thing people don't realize about the World Championships is, well, it's an individual sport. There's no money in it unless you can get sponsors. You don't get sponsors unless you're a world record holder or national record holder. We largely have to finance this on our own, and it's not cheap. So plane tickets coming here from Taiwan was about $2,200 US. Training, you know, I have a mental coach. I have a distance coach that great for scheduling some dry training, what's due in my trainings, and keep me accountable, and also the training fees with different schools in Mabini and here as well. Total is about $2,500. Accommodations here, Mabini and Roatan, for I guess 54 days of accommodation is about 1,300 or 1,250. Entry fee for the World Championships is 1,000 US for 4 dives. So $250 US per dive, which is, for me, lasts like a minute and a half to 2 minutes. Crazy. Insurance, about $150. And it was difficult finding insurance, which will cover competitions. Not a lot of dive insurance cover competitions, and thanks to the US Freedive Federation for sorting that out. Not to mention, the photography fees are incredibly high. I understand why they're that much, but yeah, for per dive, $120 US. Just for 10 photos, video is gonna be $100. I'm getting a few of those just for marketing reasons, but yeah, another $200 or so on top of everything. So that's total about over $5,000 US, almost 5,500. Not to mention the opportunity cost of not being able to work. I make my money, most of my money, teaching freediving, and obviously I can't teach when I'm training here. Not really relevant, but equipment cost is quite high. Fortunately, I have nearly all of my equipment already, but you know, a monofin costs $1,000 US, the bifin's $1,000 US, wetsuit $300, weights $150, specialty luggages and bags, the dive computers $800, wetsuit $400. So that's another $3,000–4,000. So Team USA has a GoFundMe and are genuinely close to achieving their target goal. So if this series meant anything to you, now is a great time to check the link in the description. Even a small contribution helps to get the athletes to the line from Team USA. If you're buying freediving equipment from Evolve Apnea or Multinoz, both are Team USA sponsors, use the discount code TEAMUSA2026 at checkout, and a portion will go towards supporting Team USA. And if you want to buy me a coffee, I genuinely love coffee. And so buy me a coffee, link also in the description. And yeah, we're getting close. And if you've been following along, I genuinely appreciate it. And I'll see you in the next episode. It might be about the competition. It could be about